Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the 3-game NFL DFS slate on Draftkings for Thanksgiving Day. For this Thursday, we have the traditional 3-game slate on Thanksgiving, and I know I haven't made like a ton of NFL DFS content lately. Haven't been able to get many videos up for the main slates and for the showdown slates. It's just been a super busy time for me with NBA going on, trying to upload NBA videos every day, trying to get Prospects videos up as well. It's been tough to get NFL content up, but I'm still posting NFL content all the time over on Patreon. So if you guys have missed the NFL DFS videos and you do want NFL DFS content from me, I provide player pools, core plays over on Patreon. You guys can check that out. Link down below in the description. You can always see what I do provide over on Patreon. But I want to talk through this 3-game slate with you guys for Thanksgiving. It's obviously a very popular slate. This is a slate that a lot of people get excited for. I enjoy playing the Thanksgiving Day slate every year. I think it's one of the most fun NFL DFS slates to play. Even though it's only 3 games, we have one game after the other. You got the lunch game, the 12:30 game, and then after that, you got the afternoon game, and then after that, you got the night game. So you got one game after the other. You get to watch one game individually. You don't have multiple games going on at the same time. So it makes for a really fun sweat, makes for a fun DFS slate to play. We're going to go position by position. We're going to go quarterback through tight end. Just kind of talk about some plays I like for this 3-gamer, what stands out to me. Doing this video, or I'm recording this video on Tuesday. Wanted to go ahead and get this video up before the game start Thursday. Obviously, it is a busy time right now with it being the holiday season and kind of like a holiday week. Trying to get all this content up before Thanksgiving because obviously I'm going to be away from the computer on Thanksgiving Day. So wanted to make this video, give you guys some my thoughts on this 3-game slate. Before we do get started with the breakdown though, as always, if you guys do enjoy these DFS videos, please hit that like button down below, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to check out the sponsor of this video, PrizePicks. So PrizePicks, if you guys haven't heard of PrizePicks, they're a player prop based DFS site. And I want to give a shout out to PrizePicks because they're running a very cool promo for this Thanksgiving Day slate of NFL games. As you can see, they have Justin Jefferson's receiving yards set at 0.5. This is a free pick that PrizePicks is going to offer you. You just take the over, take Justin Jefferson to have more than 0.5 receiving yards, and you just have to find any other pick you like to pair with that. Obviously, since this is an NFL video, I'm sure all you guys follow NFL, so you can take a look at their NFL board, see all the props they have up for this Thanksgiving Day slate, and see if there's anything that you like. You can take a look at their board for Sunday. They already have some props up for the Sunday slate too. You can pair just one pick, so make a 2-pick entry, or you can make up to 6 picks. You can make a 6-pick entry, and you can win up to 25x your money on PrizePicks. You guys definitely need to be playing over there. Take advantage of this Justin Jefferson free square, this promo they're running. If you guys have not signed up for PrizePicks yet, get signed up. Use promo code NOAH. When you do sign up with my promo code, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. And I do plan on making a PrizePicks video for this NFL slate for these 3 games. Probably either sometime Tuesday, maybe sometime Wednesday. I should get that video posted. And if you guys want to know some props I like for these games, you can check out that video. It'll be posted later this week. But let's go ahead and talk through this 3-game NFL slate, guys. We're gonna start off at the quarterback position, and I think quarterback, normally on these Thanksgiving Day slates, quarterback's kind of like a straightforward position, and it's kind of the case this year. I know the Bills, they play a lot on Thanksgiving, so usually Josh Allen is almost always going to be on the slate. And obviously the Bills play this Thanksgiving. Josh Allen coming in at 8K in a fantastic matchup here against the Lions. I know this season the Lions have been one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They're giving up the most points per game. In terms of fantasy points per game to the quarterback position, they're giving up the most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. It's like as good of a spot as you could ask for. Another thing is that all these games are indoors, so we don't really have to worry about weather or anything like that. It's a short week for the Bills, obviously, but they did play in Detroit on Sunday, so they really didn't have to travel or anything this week. I think it's a really good spot here for Josh Allen. He's 8K. He's not too expensive. DraftKings did kind of make the pricing a little bit softer for this slate, which I kind of like. So I think Josh Allen is the clear best quarterback play on this slate. And then if you're looking at some of these other options, can any of these guys outscore or outperform Josh Allen? That's basically the big question. And I think if you're looking for someone that has a ceiling similar to Josh Allen, you might be looking to like a Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, he has those games where he can throw for like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the Giants this season, I think, it's an okay matchup here. The Giants defense hasn't been like horrible, but they're not like the best defense either. So now that Dak's got his weapons, he's got CD, he's got, Michael Gallup starting to play a little bit better. Dalton Schultz been playing really well. I think Dak has the upside to throw 300 yards, 3 touchdowns here, and he, of any of the quarterbacks, I think could maybe outscore Josh Allen. So if I were to maybe pivot off of Josh Allen, I think Dak would be the next guy that I would look to. at 6,200. I also think some of his stacking options look pretty good. So if you're playing GPPs, you can stack up Dak with CeeDee Lamb or Dalton Schultz or maybe not Amari Cooper, but Michael Gallup. So I think Dak is firmly in play at 6,200. And then the value quarterbacks, you got Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, Mac Jones. Obviously, these guys are definitely a way below Josh Allen, and they're a good amount below Dak Prescott as well. None of these quarterbacks offer a super big ceiling, but I think of all the value quarterbacks, if there is a guy that can put up like 27, 28 DraftKings points, it might be Daniel Jones, just because Daniel Jones does offer some rushing upside, and we did see him have a really big game against Detroit. He ran for 50 yards. He had a rushing touchdown. He's kind of had a low floor this season. We've seen a lot of disappointing games from Daniel Jones, but that 25, 30-point ceiling is definitely there. Is this a spot where I expect a big game from Daniel Jones? I mean, not really. It's a tough matchup on the road against a good Cowboys defense, but finding a quarterback this cheap with rushing upside on a 3-game slate, I think definitely is something we can look to. Daniel Jones is not a guy that I really played much this season. I did have some interest in him last week against Detroit because the matchup was so good, and obviously he had a really good game. I don't think this matchup is that great, but again, Daniel Jones offers rushing upside, and that's really hard to find. I mean, none of these quarterbacks besides Josh Allen has rushing upside. Dak really hasn't been running much this year. Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Mac Jones, none of those guys offer rushing upside. So I think if I'm going to play a value quarterback, it's probably going to be Daniel Jones. And if I had to rank my top 3 quarterbacks for this slate, it would probably be Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, and then Daniel Jones. Kirk Cousins, he's got good weapons in Minnesota. The Vikings offense is really good. This matchup against the Patriots, I don't love, but I think Kirk Cousins is fine at 5,600. Jared Goff, Buffalo's defense has not been playing that well lately. They've been giving up a lot of points. Jared Goff's a guy that, has shown somewhat of a ceiling this year. He's had some big games. I think at 5,200, he's like an okay value play, but I would rather go to Daniel Jones. And then Mac Jones, he just hasn't shown any upside this season. It's kind of a good matchup. The Vikings defense hasn't been the best this season, but I would say of all the quarterbacks on this slate, like Mac Jones is by far my least favorite. So that's kind of how I'm kind of approaching the quarterback position. For cash games, I think you're just trying to jam in Josh Allen. For tournaments, I think there's multiple guys you could go to. Allen, Prescott, Jones, probably my like 3 favorite quarterbacks overall, though. Let's go ahead and move on to the running back position now. So at running back, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, kind of like your top 2 running backs on the slate. Obviously, Barkley had a disappointing game last week in a really good matchup against Detroit, but I would be totally fine going back to Barkley here. We know the volume is going to be massive. He had 36 touches against Houston, 23 touches against Seattle, 28 against Jacksonville, 25 against Baltimore. Last week, he only had 17 touches. But that was like the worst possible game from Saquon. He only had 2 catches. He averaged 1.5 yards per carry. Like, you cannot expect him to be that bad again. The volume this guy gets is absurd. He's going to play almost like every snap. He's been playing like 80+% of the snaps this season. He's $8K. He's expensive, but I think he's one of the best pay-up options overall. I think his floor is just so high, and obviously the ceiling is there if he can get into the end zone once or twice. And then Dalvin Cook, tougher spot here against New England. I know New England's been like one of the best teams defensively against running backs this season. They're actually giving up the second fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs, so it's definitely a tough spot here for Dalvin Cook. But very similar to Saquon Barkley, he is just locked into a really good workload. He's going to get probably 12 to 15 carries at least. He's going to get at least 3, 4, 5 targets. His targets have definitely been going up lately. There was a stretch early in the season he wasn't getting a ton of targets, but it seems like the pass game usage has started to trend back up for Dalvin Cook. I would definitely put Saquon ahead of him, but I still think Cook is on. He's in play on a 3-game slate like this. And then you got these mid-range running backs. You got Tony Pollard at 6,600, Ramondre Stevenson 6,400, Jamal Williams 5,900. I'm going to be very interested to see what Tony Pollard's ownership is on Thursday. At the time I'm making this video on Tuesday, there's no ownership projections available right now. I really don't know what Tony Pollard's ownership is going to be. Like, he's been so good these last few games. Obviously, he was massive chalk those 2 games that Zeke was out. Last week, Zeke comes back, and Pollard still has a huge game, gets 21 touches, has 39 DraftKings points. He's been so explosive. He's been getting great volume. Even with Zeke back last week, he got over 20 touches. I really don't know what to do with Tony Pollard. I want to say that if he's really, really popular, this would be a guy that I think I'd be okay fading in GPPs just because he is going to be splitting carries and splitting work with Zeke. But man, he's just such a good running back. Like, if you watch Tony Pollard play, it feels like anytime he touches the ball, he's a threat to take it to the house. Like, he's just so explosive. He's one of the best running backs. Honestly, I think he might be one of the best running backs in the league. I really don't know. Like 6,600 definitely feels too cheap for Pollard with how well he's played lately. But if he's going to be splitting touches with Zeke, then it doesn't make him like a priority play for me. Zeke is questionable. He was a limited participant on Monday's practice. It's a short week, so could they limit Zeke a little bit on a short week? I guess it's possible, but I think for now we have to expect it to be just kind of like a 50-50 split between the two. Both guys got pretty good volume, 16 touches last week for Zeke, but worth noting they were playing from ahead for basically that entire game against Minnesota, so they were running the ball a lot, especially late in the second half. This week, I think we could see like a 50-50 split, maybe 60-40 favoring Pollard. I might just fade the Dallas running backs and just hope that neither one of them like gets a touchdown or something. Pollard's a guy that he's such a scary fade because he just has so much upside. But if he's going to be super popular just because he's played so well lately, especially with Zeke back now, like I think I'd be okay fading Pollard. And again, if he's going to be low owned, then I would for sure play Pollard. So it's really going to depend on ownership there. I think in tournaments, how good of a play he is will depend on how owned he is, in my opinion. And then you have Ramondre Stevenson at 6,400. So even with Damian Harris back, we've still seen Ramondre Stevenson get pretty good opportunity. 15 carries last week, 6 receptions as well. He's been getting a lot of usage in the passing game, and I think on the road here against Minnesota, facing a good Vikings team, this definitely sets up as kind of a negative game script for the Patriots. I think they will be playing from behind here. Right now in this game, they're pretty decent underdogs, I want to say. I'm pretty sure last time I looked, they were like almost double-digit underdogs. Let's see. Yeah, they're only 3-point underdogs. I thought I saw the line was way different. I think I was looking at the Cowboys line by accident. So they're only 3-point underdogs. So it's not like a crazy negative game script for them. But I think this could be a game where they are playing from behind, and I think that will favor Ramondre Stevenson because of how much they use him in the passing game. So at 6,400, I'm kind of okay going to Ramondre Stevenson here. He's another guy that's just like super talented. Anytime he touches the ball, he feels like he's going to break 7-8 tackles. He's been like one of the best runners after contact this season. So I think Ramondre Stevenson at 6,400 is viable. Jamal Williams is probably a guy that I'm going to fade. He's been scoring a freaking million touchdowns this season. He's got 12 rushing touchdowns, which leads the league. But if he doesn't get into the end zone, he's almost certainly not going to be worth rostering at the salary because he's not getting any usage in the passing game. He's going to probably get like 12 to 15 carries. I doubt this is a spot, though, where he's going to run for like 100 yards. So in order for him to justify 5,900, he's going to have to score a touchdown, if not 2 touchdowns. Last week, he scored 3 touchdowns, and he scored 24 DK points, which is obviously strong. But if Jamal Williams gets 3 goal line touchdowns again this week, I'll just eat it. I'll just take the L, and I'll move on to Sunday's slate. But I think Jamal Williams is a guy that I definitely would be okay fading. He's got to get touchdowns to really be worth the salary, and I just don't know. Especially in a game where they could be playing from behind, if this is the best spot for Jamal Williams. Zeke at 5,800, I don't hate. I haven't played Zeke much this season, but he got 16 touches last week. He was pretty heavily involved. He's another guy that feels like he's kind of touchdown dependent. He's going to have to get into the end zone just because he's not really getting much usage in the passing game this year. But if you want to go to Zeke, I think he's an okay play. Really good spot here for Devin Singletary. His usage has still been pretty strong. Last week he got 18 carries, two receptions. He's been getting pretty good usage in the passing game. I know the Lions just kind of shut down Saquon last week, but this historically has been a team that's pretty easy to run on. So I think this is a good spot for Devin Singletary. And I think of all the 5K running backs, he definitely looks like the best play overall. I assume he'll be the most popular, but 5,600 for Singletary is too cheap for this matchup and just on this slate specifically. Damian Harris, I'm not super interested in. The rest of these guys I'm not super interested in. I do want to talk about DeAndre Swift, though. So DeAndre Swift has kind of been limited these last few weeks. I mean, he's been limited like last 4 or 5 weeks. He's barely been getting a ton of playing time, a ton of touches. I do want to look at his snap counts last week. I'm pretty sure they were fairly low. He played on, 31% of the snaps last week. I mean, the last 2 weeks he's only played 31% of the snaps. So he's not really getting much volume, but could this be a game where they are playing from behind against a good Buffalo team that probably will put up points here? Like, this could definitely be a game where you do see Detroit forced to throw if they're going to be playing from behind. And in games where they're playing from behind, I think that sets up very well for DeAndre Swift because he's kind of their pass-catching running back. They're not going to use Jamal Williams much in the passing game. Maybe they use Justin Jackson a little bit, but I think DeAndre Swift in a negative game script would really benefit. So honestly, if you want to do like a Josh Allen stack and then hope that like the Bills get out to a big lead and then run those stacks back with DeAndre Swift, like I think that makes some sense. I don't expect like massive volume for DeAndre Swift, but I think in a negative game script where they're playing from behind, you could see him get a lot of catches. And obviously on DraftKings scoring, with it being full PPR, getting those 4, 5, 6 receptions can add up really quick. So is it like a GPP play? I think he'll be pretty low owned. I think DeAndre Swift is kind of appealing as a low owned GPP play. But that's really it for running back. Let's go ahead and move on to wide receiver now. So at the wide receiver position, I mean, these top guys like Justin Jefferson, Steph Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, even Amon-Ra, you can't say anything negative about these guys. They're all super talented. I will say that, looking at matchups, I would think Justin Jefferson's probably got the toughest matchup against New England. New England historically been a pretty good defensive team. There's always the narrative that, Bill Belichick is going to do whatever he can to take away the opposing team's best player. So that could mean that you do see Justin Jefferson get double teamed here. Last week he had a very disappointing game against Dallas, but pretty much the entire Vikings offense did. I'd expect a better game from Justin Jefferson this week, but I don't know if this is like a ceiling spot for him. I don't think he's going to be someone that I really prioritize this week. I think I'd rather go like to Saquon if I'm going to pay up for someone. I think I'd rather go to Steph Diggs too. It's just a much better matchup for Steph Diggs. You can stack him up with Josh Allen if you can make it work. This is a big spot for Steph Diggs. I mean, Detroit's secondary has been brutal this season in terms of fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position. They're pretty much top 5 in that category. It's a great spot here for Diggs. And I know he was also kind of disappointing last week, but this is a matchup where he should have a ton of success. We know he's going to get the volume. We know Josh Allen, pretty much any week Josh Allen has a big passing game, usually it means that Steph Diggs is going to have a big game as well because these guys just correlate so well. Allen's going to target him so much. So I think of all the pay-up wide receivers, Steph Diggs probably looks the best just in terms of, matchup and just raw projection. But like Amon-Ra is only 6,600, and I think that's a little bit too cheap. Buffalo's defense, again, they haven't been as stout lately. They've definitely been giving up a lot of points, and we know Amon-Ra is going to get really good volume. Now that he's healthy, we've seen 10, 9, 11, and 8 targets over their last 4 games. Again, like I said, this could definitely be a spot where Detroit is playing from behind. I could see Buffalo getting out to an early lead. I could see Detroit forced to throw it a little bit more in this game. Amon-Ra is going to be the number 1 target for Jared Goff at 6,600. I like him quite a bit. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is okay at 7,100, but I probably would rather get up to Diggs or drop down to Amon-Ra if I had to choose, one of those receivers. But if you're playing GBPs, you just kind of want to correlate. If you're playing Dak Prescott, probably makes sense to play CeeDee Lamb in some of those lineups. If you're playing Jared Goff you probably want to stack him up with maybe Amon-Ra. Again, if you're playing Josh Allen, maybe you go to Diggs. So it's really tough to say, this receiver is so much better than this receiver or this receiver. It really just comes down to, in GPPs, you want to always correlate. Now, for cash games, just trying to find the best plays, I think Diggs and Amon-Ra are like the 2 guys I probably would be playing in cash games if you could make it work. I haven't obviously built any lineups yet. But like some other receivers we can look to in this, kind of lower mid-range, we do have some cheap guys here that I think are in play. As a pivot off of Steph Diggs, I mean, Gabe Davis is only 5,300. He's really cheap, and Gabe Davis has been the typical like boom-bust wide receiver this season. He either scores like 45 fantasy points or he scores like 5 fantasy points. It feels like there's no in-between for Gabe Davis. This does feel like one of those spots where you could see a big Gabe Davis game just because Detroit's secondary is so brutal. He's only 5,300, so I do like Gabe Davis as kind of a stacking option with Josh Allen. Jacoby Myers should get pretty good volume. He's never a guy that I look to roster a ton in DFS just because he doesn't have the biggest ceiling, but I think for floor, he's going to get like 7, 8 targets here, and I think he's got like an 8, 9, 10 point floor, so he does feel like someone you can maybe play in cash games. But for GPPs, I'm not really going to be stacking up Mac Jones and Jacoby Myers. I think if I were to play Jacoby Myers in GPPs, it would just be like a run back option in some Minnesota lineups if I have any Minnesota guys. Jacoby Myers is playable, but I'm not super in love with him. And then like the Giants receivers, so the Giants are going to be really short-handed at receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson's going to be out. I think he's done for the season. So they're down to like Darius Slayton, Kenny Golladay, and like Richie James should be playing this week. But if we're looking for value at wide receiver, we're probably going to be looking to these Giants guys. And again, like I don't feel great clicking Darius Slayton or Kenny Golladay into lineups, but I mean Galladay is only 3,700. He actually looked decent last week. I want to talk about him as kind of a value receiver. He got 2 targets. I mean, he didn't really do much with the 2 targets. He had 2 catches for 29 yards. But looking at his snap count last week, I want to say he played on like a decent amount of the snaps. And obviously, we do have to factor in that Wan'Dale Robinson did play last week, and obviously he's not playing now. But last week, Wan'Dale Robinson played 72% of the snaps, so he basically played like the whole game or close to it, his normal workload before getting injured. Kenny Golladay did play on 43% of the snaps last week, and that was with Wan'Dale Robinson having a full workload. So now that Wan'Dale Robinson's out, we could maybe see Kenny Golladay operate as like the wide receiver 2 for the Giants, and what probably will be a playing from behind game script against Dallas where they're almost double-digit underdogs. So, like, it's gross, man. Kenny Golladay at this point in his career, like, is he even good anymore? Probably not, but he's only 3,700. I am looking to him for value at wide receiver. If you want to go to, like, Richie James, too, I don't hate that. He had a pretty good game last week, found the end zone. I think he's in line to see more targets, in line to see more playing time here without Rondale Robinson. These Giants guys, you're not going to feel good clicking them into lineups, but if you want to pay up for Diggs, if you want to pay up for Josh Allen, if you want to pay up for Saquon Barkley, you're going to have to look to some of these guys. So did want to mention them as like value plays. If you Slayton at 5K is fine, but I think I'd rather get up to like Gabe Davis, even like Adam Thielen at 4,900. That's really cheap for Adam Thielen. I know Adam Thielen has had a very disappointing year this year. He just hasn't really done much. He hasn't been able to get consistent volume. He's been kind of like a touchdown or bust player this season. But 4,900 for Adam Thielen is pretty cheap for a guy that we at least know is going to get like 5-6 targets. And if the Patriots do decide to double team Justin Jefferson, that could obviously lead to maybe some more targets for Adam Thielen. So at 4,900, I think Adam Thielen is in play this week. I do have some interest in him. But the rest of these receivers, I'm not like super excited about. I don't see too much else I really like at wide receiver. I think if you're looking for value, again, you're going to be looking to those Giants guys. You could maybe throw a dart on like a Michael Gallup or maybe like a DJ Shark if he plays, but that's really it for the wide receiver position. Now, talking about tight end, I think tight end's kind of straightforward this week. I mean, there's two tight ends, and I think there's clearly these are the two best tight ends. TJ Hockenson, Dalton Schultz. If I'm going to play if I just have one lineup that I'm playing this week, I think I'm probably looking to one of those two guys. Since getting traded to the Vikings, TJ Hockenson has had a very, very good role. He's had really good volume, and he's been playing a ton of snaps as well. Last week, I think he played like over 70% of the snaps, and that was with them getting blown out. But the 2 weeks before that, before last week where they got blown out, 91% of the snaps week 9 against Washington, 93% of the snaps week 10 against Buffalo. So Hockenson has been playing almost every single snap with the Vikings. He's been getting really, really good volume. 5K, I think, is still cheap for Hockenson on a slate like this. I think he's got the most upside out of any tight end. If there was a tight end on this slate that could put up like 100 yards, I think it's probably Hockenson. So I think Hockenson at 5K is a pretty good value. I think he's the guy that I would want to get at tight end if I could. But again, if you want to build like some stars and scrubs lineups, if you're trying to play Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Diggs, you're going to have to save even more salary. So it makes some sense to drop down to Dalton Schultz if you can't get up to Hockenson. Ever since Dak Prescott came back, Dalton Schultz has had really good volume. He's gotten really good opportunity, and he's basically been the number 2 target for Dak behind CeeDee Lamb. I think of the games that Dak has played in this season, he's targeted Dalton Schultz the second most behind Lamb. So we know the volume is going to be there. The price tag's fairly low at $3,800. I think Schultz is probably the second best tight end play on the slate behind Hockenson. And then I would put Dawson Knox third. Dawson Knox has been a frustrating player this season just because he's been so boom or bust. He's had a pretty low floor, but again, just targeting this Lions defense is going to be something we want to do. The Lions just give up so many points per game, and I don't think anyone would be surprised if the Bills went out there and put up like 35 points on Thursday. So if you want to go to Knox, I think it's okay. I think I personally would rather get up to Schultz, but Knox, Schultz, both in play for value. Hockenson, I think overall is the best tight end play on this slate. And I don't think I'm playing any other tight ends like Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. I just don't know if these guys offer the same upside. They're pretty much touchdown or bust. So really, at tight end, I think you're just kind of looking at these three guys, Hockenson, Schultz, Knox, and I would probably put them in that order. So yeah, guys, I think that does it for tight end, and I think that does it for this 3-game Thanksgiving Day slate. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I appreciate you watching. Make sure to hit that like button if you guys did enjoy this video. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And also, again, if you're new to the channel, check out PrizePicks. They are the sponsor of this video. We talked about PrizePicks at the beginning, but I do want to give them another quick shout out. They're running a promo right now where they have Justin Jefferson's receiving yards set at 0.5. This is a free square, a free pick that PrizePicks is giving you. You just have to find any other pick you'd like to pair with this. It can be an NFL pick, it can be an NBA pick, it can be any other sport. On PrizePicks, you can mix and match sports, you can make multi-sport entries, and you can win up to 25x your money on PrizePicks. So check them out, take advantage of this free square promo, and make sure that when you sign up for PrizePicks, use promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100. But best of luck this week, guys. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Hope you guys have a good holiday. We'll be back probably for Friday for NBA. Don't know yet about content for NFL. Again, guys, I know the NFL DFS content has been kind of off and on the channel this season, but I'm still uploading NFL DFS content over on Patreon. So if you guys do want more NFL DFS content from me, player pools, core plays, I provide those on Patreon each week. check that out. Link down below in the description. But good luck this week, guys. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. We will see you in the next video. Peace.